Hey, I say power finna come on. Bring your ass over here. I got us some food. Bring your wine. Let's get back and chill. Tell me about your day. How a bitch coulda got smacked for real. Ask me about my business. I'll tell you about some future deals. I really like the way we chill. Laid back, keep it real. Plus the way we chop it up, we just let our feelings spill. Off the red lights, music low. Vibes getting real. Pour another glass for me. It's
Alrighty.
time for the overkill. Hey, lay on.
Alrighty, this your host, Mr. Playback Corey, coming at y'all with another episode of the Pressful Conversation podcast. I got two special guests on the show. I got Antoine Bell and I got Cornelius Stevenson. Today's topic, we're going to recover some things in boxing. First, we're going to get into what y'all think about the Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia fight.
Oh man, it was to be expected. You're not gonna knock Danny Garcia out. So all the talk about knocking Danny Garcia out, that just wasn't gonna happen. Good fight, went as planned. Earl looked decent. You know, he still had some ring rust on him, and he did get hit a couple of times with some shots that he normally doesn't get hit with. But that's just a timing thing. But it kind of went as expected. I still think Danny is in the top 7 in that weight class, even with that loss.
What you think, Antoine?
It was a decent fight. Very decent fight. He did exactly what I thought he was going to do. Beat him. Made it somewhat of an interesting fight. But nothing spectacular. So, I mean, I can't say too much really about it to the point that it was a knockdown, drag out, hell of a fight. It just was something as Cornelius Stevenson word would be. It was just a well fight.
Yeah, I took it as that too. It was good to see Errol back in there after his car accident, and for him to come back and fight a guy that's a top fighter in that division shows his character as a fighter. Because a lot of people they like to take tune-ups, 2 or 3 fights, then finally want to fight the big guy. But he came right out the gate and in a tragic accident to want to fight a guy like Danny Garcia.
Well, it's in Bud's court right now because right now he's going to get frozen out because Earl can fight Pacquiao or fight Canelo and make big money.
Yeah, you have a point. I don't know what the situation is for Terrence Crawford. I thought he shouldn't have signed back with Top Rank. Maybe he did it just because of the money. You know, maybe he like, well, I don't have to fight him. I just collect the money. But you talk about everybody else's resume, but you don't have a really resume of your own. You ain't fought really no top fighters. You know, so.
Well, don't nobody care about what he did at 140 because he at 147 now.
Exactly.
So he needs to, fight better competition, and that's the problem with Bud right now is that the competition that he's fought is not on the elite level. They are elite fighters, but there's elite fighters and then there's elite fighters like Danny Garcia fighting Earl. So he needs to get his opponents that he's fighting up to that elite status where we can talk about it. Fight Sean Porter. He's your number 1 mandatory.
Right. Now, speaking of 140, I know Danny Garcia came from 140, Antoine. Do you think they have a big difference coming up to 147 from 140? Some people say he's not a natural 147, so the punches he was throwing at Earl probably wasn't as effective as they think it should have been.
He's not a 147 pounder. No. And that is a big, big difference between 40 and 47. That's a 7 pounds difference. And he's just an all right fighter at 47. He didn't have to go through 47 and fight his way constantly from 47 all the way up to where he's at. He just happened to be a great 40-pound champion. And the commentators was like, well, you're knocking out everybody at 40 and you're beating everybody at 40. And especially when he beat Zab Judah and he ended up stopping Amir Khan, and they automatically start saying, well, would you move up and fight at 47? Yeah, the money is a lot better and it's a lot bigger and stuff. So he just jumped right into the thick of things. He didn't have to, come from the bottom. So he hasn't beat anybody at 47. So he just stays around and he's a good name that people will pay to go see fight.
Right.
But he'll never win the 147-pound title. Fighting these guys here, they're too big, they're too tall, and they're long, and they're more stronger than he is. So, I mean, for the money, yeah. I mean, it all comes down at the end of your career. It's about how much money do you have at the end of your career.
Okay.
Titles is something that you borrow.
All right.
Somebody had a title before you. Somebody's going to have that title after you.
Now, speaking of predictions, I know you say Errol wasn't going to knock Danny Garcia out, but what was your prediction before that?
I figured he would win a unanimous decision. It would be a tough fight because I knew Danny would touch him. Mm-hmm. And like I tell people, Errol has one of the best jabs in the game. Mm-hmm. And the jab was going to be the difference in the fight. Mm-hmm. And that would be the difference in the fight, even if he fought Bud, because he's a southpaw. Mm-hmm. And Bud switches southpaw for defensive reasons. So he's not going to be able to switch southpaw to fight Errol. Errol is naturally bigger, naturally stronger, and he got the best jab in the game.
What was your prediction, Antoine, before we seen the outcome of the fight yesterday?
My prediction was the same, that he wasn't going to beat him. No way, no how. I mean, he'd had to slip on a banana peel and hit his head on the turnbuckle for him to beat him. And that wasn't going to happen and stuff.
Well, it was easy for me to make a prediction because, as you said it, and a lot of people said it, Corn, that he was tailor-made for him. He was kind of tailor-made. Danny Garcia was tailor-made for Errol Spence Jr. He was kind of tailor-made. He was flat-footed. I've seen a lot of holes in his game that hasn't changed over the years. He was flat-footed. He was throwing his punches kind of too wide. He had his elbows out like this. And a lot of times your power not really effective if you're not tucking them in under. That's how I was taught when I was in the sport of boxing. So that I kind of seen a lot of things. But as far as Bud Crawford, I would like to see that fight, but it's going to be hard to make long he under Bob Arum. It's just going to be hard to make with top rank. I think he's going to have to come from under him to really, step outside the side, like a Floyd and Pacquiao situation.
Well, I wouldn't say too much like stepping outside with Floyd Pacquiao. I'm going to give Danny Garcia this because I sat back and watched the fight again, and he did a hell of a job on his defense-wise. There's a lot of shots that Errol could have caught him with that he stayed in the pocket that he was able to defend.
I agree.
Defend against.
I agree.
So, like I said, I'm giving Danny Garcia the utmost respect.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
He's still in my top 7, 170, 147 pounders. Still, even with that loss, because you have to look at his last 3 fights.
Right, he never dug nobody. Like he fought.
Why should he? Shouldn't look at his last 3 fights? Who he fought: Thurman, Porter, Spence.
And they were close fights.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And Bud can't say that at all for anything.
No,
Jeff Horn, Kell Brook, and a game Kell Brook before he fought Triple G would have dominate Bud. Easy.
Now,
easy work.
Let's talk about dominant. Let's get into the USA boxing circuit. And the biggest fight of this year, the fighters had to fight the pandemic. How did the pandemic put an effect on the USA boxing circuit this day, Antoine?
Oh, well, it just affected the whole United States. And there's no more really hard to even imagine that it would happen this way, but boxing is just dead like everything else in this country.
Yeah, we just like to recognize some of the amateurs coming up through Michigan. First of all, Mr. Joseph Hicks for making the Olympic team.
Congratulations.
My man Don, another Gallo Boxing, Big Don. We also have,
Baby G.
yep, Baby. I can't forget about Baby G. Got my man Baby G out of Flint. We have KK and Ferris and Joe Haynes and Joe Davis.
Thomas Covington, Leonard Ross, Lance from over at Tony Harris Gym.
We got Malik Barber. We got Gage Whiting. Who else? Who we missing from?
You got Louise.
Yeah, Louise.
Throwback boxing.
We got Louise from Throwback Boxing.
Makai Barber.
David Fectow.
Yeah, David Fectow. Who else we got?
What we got over at
Shantae Wiley.
what we got over at Hernandez.
Well, I said Joe
Cornelius.
Davis and Joe Haynes.
Okay.
And Gordy Rush and Lance.
What about William from Crump?
Yeah, William from Crunk and Little Ant from Hands On and Ghost and what's the other kid? Hernandez got a little fellow over there that fought Makai at the tournament.
I know what you're talking about, but I cannot think of the kid's name.
But you know who he is. We giving you a shout out, and for those who we have missed, it's not that we not we didn't do it out of harm. It's just that we can't remember no names right now. But we definitely
And we're doing this all off our mind. We ain't wrote none of this down.
Right, we definitely giving everybody from Michigan a good shout out.
It's so many of y'all. And that's a great thing. So that means it's so many of y'all, we can't name all y'all, but shout out to you guys too that we didn't mention.
And Norway Boxing Gym with the guys over there. That's putting in work to move to the next. My man Ryan and Money and Wes and what's it, Jabu?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those guys are putting in work to make themselves better.
And little LJ from over there as well. And don't forget about Empire Boxing Gym, the heavyweight David, Lacito, and the rest of the guys over there. So,
and if you haven't seen the Hector Camacho documentary, I would recommend you looking at it because I want to give a shout out to Mex JC, who was one of the trainers for Hector Camacho, also trained me for a short period of time. And he is all through the documentary training Hector Camacho for all his fights. Shout out to JC. Hey.
all right, there you have it.